So yesterday, I made a video about the Shams report that basically said the Heat are open to trading Jimmy Butler and Jimmy would be willing to go to the Warriors, Rockets, or Mavericks. Now, a lot of people made a big deal of that report. Some people didn't care at all. Truthfully, I was unsure how I felt just because that report could have came from a lot of different sources who have a lot of different agendas. So I didn't really know how to necessarily feel. So I listened to a lot of other people. I listened to the 5 Reasons podcast, and Ethan Skolnick was basically saying that like nothing's new. So what's the big deal? We've known for like a couple years now that the Warriors and Rockets and Mavericks might be interested in Jimmy Butler. And my answer to that is, as far as what's new, is the fact that that report came from Shams Charania, likely the most credible NBA insider out there, because yeah, we've heard that report before, but from a bunch of no names. Coming from Shams meant a big deal to me because he has a history of being more plugged in with the Heat than a lot of reporters. And Shams also did mention Jimmy Butler's agent, Bernie Lee, by name in his report. So that to me did sound a little bit interesting. And then later in the day yesterday, it was reported that Jimmy Butler did not speak to the media after practice. That had a lot of people freaking out. But truthfully, I didn't really care about that because I was aware that he doesn't usually speak after practice. But today, Jimmy Butler did. And we do got a few interesting clips. So I kind of want to look into what he said today and decide how we should feel about that as Heat fans. Now, before we do get into those clips, though, I don't want to over-analyze the clips or look into them too hard because, one, Jimmy Butler is a troll, so he likes to say things to troll. It's like one of his close friends on Twitter was posting songs that said goodbye and posting gifs of him packing bags. Jimmy's a troll, and his friends are trolls. And even on top of that, I always thought it was stupid to like meticulously dissect every word an athlete says because most of the times they're just speaking generic coach talk. Like that's what they're trained to do in their media training. So I don't like to overanalyze, but we will look a little bit into it. Now, I do want to say, though, that Jimmy Butler is not usually one of those coach speak athletes. He is rare in the sense that he actually tells you exactly what's on his mind. That's very well documented in Jimmy Butler's career. But today in his comments, he wasn't so direct. So I do want to get into these clips. And of course, I got these from Will Mansell on Twitter. Y'all know the GOAT, Will Mansell. So y'all could go check out his page for some more information. And Anthony Chang, famous Heat writer, also has an article about all this stuff as well. So here is what Jimmy Butler said when he was just asked in general his thoughts on the trade speculation.
I actually like it. It's good to be talked about. I don't think there's a such thing as like bad publicity to a point. But somebody talking about me getting traded, that's a lot. It's fine with me. Doesn't bother me not one bit. And I do appreciate it. I appreciate going out there and hooping. I appreciate being efficient, being effective, and helping my team win. I appreciate it all. I don't ever take playing basketball for anybody for granted.
So obviously his tone isn't that negative. It's not negative at all. He's sitting there, he's smiling, which a lot of players don't do when they're talking to Ira Winderman because I know they don't like Ira. If you haven't noticed, try to pay attention to it. You can tell a lot of times you get some snarky remarks when Ira asks the question. I even talked to Mario Chalmers about this when I interviewed him a couple times, and he just said that the players aren't huge fans of Ira Winderman. But anyways, Jimmy isn't negative at all. He is smiling. But then, of course, later on, he's asked directly about his future with regards to the Miami Heat. And here's a couple things that Jimmy Butler had to say.
Where do you stand as far as long-term future, hopefully otherwise, with the Miami?
Who knows? My kids matter. My happiness matters. My well-being matters, and my family matters. Right now, it's all about competing, staying healthy, and playing some great basketball. I think I've done that so far, so we'll see what we got. I feel like we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We done won a couple in a row. I'm not worried about no extension. We handle all of that whenever it gets here. Take it day by day. The more articles that come out, the more y'all gonna ask me questions about it. So keep the articles coming.
Now, from a Heat fan perspective, I love hearing him talk about the team. I love hearing him say that he thinks they're playing well right now. And there's another quote where he said Tyler is playing his ass off. Bam is doing Bam things. So I do like to hear that he sounds optimistic about the team. Whoa, hold up. Stop the video. I see that you are not subscribed yet. That's crazy. Nah, but for real, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button. It really helps your boy out a lot. I greatly appreciate it. Now let's get back to the video. And I also like to hear him say that he's not worried about the extension talk. We heard him say that at media day also, which I do think is the right mindset to have, because he should be focused on basketball, and he very clearly is doing that. He's focused on what's going on the court, which I think is the right attitude. But of course, a lot of Heat fans were getting nervous because Jimmy Butler didn't directly say, I want to stay with the Miami Heat, I want to retire here, which we have heard him say multiple times in the past. Now, Jimmy Butler essentially gave a similar answer when he was asked later about his future with the Miami Heat once again.
You made it know that you want to be with the Heat, you want to end your career. Is that still number one?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure y'all get a report that's going to say otherwise anyway, so there's no sense in me answering that question.
So, of course, again, a lot of fans are worried that that's going to happen when you hear words like, I don't know, or we'll see. But then also, in regards to the same quote, a lot of Heat fans were happy because when Jimmy said something like, when he said that I'm sure you'll get a report that will say otherwise, to me, I think what Jimmy Butler is basically saying that whatever answer he gives is irrelevant, because there's always going to be some BS report that's out there that says the opposite. Because that is true. Y'all know I hate NBA reporting because a lot of times people will put news out there just to get clicks. That was another theory of Ethan Skolnick. He thinks because there was no NFL yesterday and the Lakers weren't playing, ESPN needed something to write about. So they just had Shams regurgitate this report. And I do think there is some truth to that. So to me, that's what Jimmy Butler is saying. He's like, there's no point in even giving you an answer because they're just going to report on something different regardless, right? So I don't want to overanalyze that specific part or the rest of the quotes, but what I do personally think is that Jimmy Butler is open to all options. I think that he likes Miami. I would say I feel very safe saying that he likes Miami, and I feel very safe saying that he really wants to win. We all know that, right? But what I also know is that he wants to get paid. All these athletes do, and rightfully so. I would say Jimmy Butler deserves to get paid. He's busted his ass to put him in a spot where he's been one of the most successful players in this franchise's history. So he does deserve to get paid, or he deserves to get paid what he feels like he is worth. So I do understand that. I don't blame him for that. So if that is his ultimate goal, then why would he come into these interviews and say, yeah, I want to stay with Miami for the rest of my career, I don't care about the money? Because that really doesn't give him any leverage. So what I do think is possible is that this report that came out yesterday from Shams was sort of a leverage play by Jimmy Butler and his camp to kind of get Miami to open up their pockets, to say, hey, if you don't want to give me that extension, if you don't want to pay me this offseason, I don't think this is anything immediate. Not saying he wants the extension right this second, but he's starting to plant the seeds. So come off season, Jimmy could say, hey, remember, if you don't pay me what I'm looking for, I could walk. I could go to Golden State or Dallas or Houston. And I know a lot of Heat fans will say, well, if he wants to leave, let him leave. But I don't think Jimmy Butler is going to come into this offseason and ask for a huge max $60 million extension if he tails off to end the season. So, and I should note also in that Shams report, Shams did talk from both sides as far as the Heat and Jimmy Butler. He said the Heat might be open, or he said the Heat are open to trading Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy would be interested in these teams. So if it was a leverage play, I do find it a bit odd that he would also mention the Heat being open. You think Shams' report would have more so said Jimmy is willing to walk, but regardless, it is possible this is a leverage play from Jimmy Butler, and I like to believe he's a reasonable guy. So everything that happens the rest of this season will determine the outcome of what happens with Jimmy Butler. If he continues playing pretty well, I know he's had some of those off nights this year, but if he's able to minimize those, and if he does stay healthy the rest of the year, and if he can end up playing close to 70 games, and if we get to the playoffs and we see playoff Jimmy, then yeah, he should get that max extension he deserves. But if he keeps getting hurt like we've seen so far this season, he's only able to play 60 games and he's not super effective in the playoffs, then yeah, obviously I don't think he's going to be commanding a max extension. And then on top of his individual play, it all is based off how this Heat team does, right? If Jimmy thinks this Heat team can win, he'll stay. They're 2 games above 500 right now, but they're 5th place in the Eastern Conference. That wouldn't be the case if he was in the West with the Mavericks or the Rockets. It's very difficult to win over there. So if the Heat continue this 3-game win streak that they're on, and if they go on and they finish top 3 in the East and they win a few playoff series, they might win an NBA championship. Who knows? But I do want to say that I don't think anything is set in stone with regards to Jimmy Butler. I don't think anybody's mind is made up. I think it all depends on how this Heat team does going forward. Because, yeah, I've heard a lot of Heat fans say we're playing well right now. Why would Jimmy want to leave? Why would this report came out? Well, playing well right now literally means you won 3 games in a row. Because just before that, you lost to a terrible Toronto team. You got blown out by Boston. I know Jimmy missed that game, but that's part of the problem. And then tomorrow you play the Toronto Raptors again without Scotty Barnes. That team's not good. And then you play the Pistons the game after that. So you got a few games here that you need to win. And if this Heat team can continue stringing along these wins together, then yeah, I'll officially say that they are our better team than last year. But we'll talk about that more in another video. I actually wanted to make a video on how the Heat's starting lineup is the most efficient starting lineup in all of basketball, or has the highest net rating. I forget the stat. But I'll save that video for another time. We'll see how the Heat do tomorrow versus the Raptors. But all that being said, let me know y'all thoughts down in the comments below. How do you feel about the quote you heard from Jimmy Butler today? Let me know. Do you think he's leaving? Do you think he's staying? How do you think this ultimately gets resolved? Make sure to like and subscribe, because I'm on the grind to hit 6K subs, and all the support is greatly, greatly appreciated. I'll see y'all with a post game after tomorrow. Peace out, y'all.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.